You are now listening to Femme Regard Podcast with Tessa Markle and Carolina Alvarez. Femme.
Hey, Femme Fam. We have another lovely guest for you today. Today, we have director Marcus Dunstan, who he is a director, writer, producer. He's done it all. Horror pro, been at the game for a long time. But today, he is here to talk about All My Friends Are Dead, new young adult horror coming out this summer. And it's a really fun one, you guys. It has got some elements of, the dark humor, the campiness, but it's also got a lot of gore, which is coming from Marcus's past working on the Saw franchise. So he's definitely done a lot of projects that you guys have seen and heard about. He talks about a few of them on the show, and he gets into how he progressed through his career and how he got to where he is today. And we talk about, of course, All My Friends Are Dead and how that all came together and the lovely team that he got to work with.
Marcus was such a delight to speak with. I mean, he really shares his past. You know how we roll, guys. We're going to ask, what got you into it? And he's got a really fun story of how he grew up around horror and how he got into filmmaking, and it's a really sweet story. But alongside that, as Tessa said, we kind of talk about his career progression and then what led him to finding a team. It's always about finding your people that you can go to battle with. That looped him into this film. And with All My Friends Are Dead, there's like this common ground and a trend that we've been seeing since writing our feature Sync on, social media and tech, and playing that with horror as a theme and how they use that as a vessel. There's like a fun voyeuristic approach to it that I saw written up, and I agree. I think that's kind of what we use too with like all the cameras we have about. We didn't get to nerd too much into that, but if you guys like those topics and how that are curious how you can play with that in a horror setting, we know you're going to like this film as well. You'll like our film, but you will definitely, I think, find how creative they got, and you will definitely see some Saw touches in this film, because I was texting Tess in the middle of it being like, oh my God, this is what scares me. It generally scares me. I get very uncomfortable.
I love listeners. If you know us, you would have loved this text conversation, because Carolina's like, I didn't like Saw growing up. Like, it was too much for me. It was too, and I'm like, I love it. Like, they're on my DVD shelf right now. She's like, of course you did.
Literally classic Carolina versus Tessa at the scene. But what was fun, if you guys are like me and are terrified of such things, is that it's still like teenage classic kind of horror where it's over the top, and I wasn't terrified. We got our sleep in, it's fine. So it's fun. It's more than anything really fun. You will get scared. There will be a couple twists, which I do appreciate. I love that you think you can guess something and then it changes up on you, and I love when a story does that.
Yes. And Marcus even mentions in the interview, make sure when you watch it to watch through the credits, because there's even more twists and turns coming up through the credits.
Oh, speaking of credits, I just finished doing our Sync film credits because, as a director, we have our own touch, our approach. And I was enjoying their credits. Like, if we had more, it wouldn't fit into our story, but I love when they use little vignettes and find cool ways. So if any of you are like in a position where you are in post for a film, watch credits, like stay through and watch credits. I just have to say, I've been really paying attention to a lot of film credits because it's where you get to shine your talent and everyone who helped make the film. They are so important, and they don't have to be boring. Like I looked at ours and I was like, nope, not it. Too boring. We need to spice it up. And it's nothing crazy, guys, but I still think you could add a little more sauce because people do stay and watch the credits, especially stay and watch these ones for some special ending touches. So I just had to plug that in because I've just been going through it myself.
Yeah.
So enjoy this episode and make sure you watch All My Friends Are Dead, out in theaters and on digital and demand on August 2nd. And if you do get to enjoy it in theaters, make sure you order a big bag of popcorn and Coke and gummy bears. What do you like to have? I don't know.
I like sour candy.
Yeah, I like sour candy. So the watermelon Sour Patch. That's where I was going. Yeah. Oh, king. Okay, guys, enjoy.
Enjoy.
Oh, we appreciate you, Marcus. Thanks for joining the girls of FemRegard from FemRegard podcast.
Yes,
we love getting into the nitty gritty of filmmaking. We have a lot of independent filmmakers who tune into our show, and we also just have a love of horror. So when we found this opportunity to speak with you, a legend, an icon, and also talk about this really fantastic film, we were so excited. So let's go.
This means a lot to me because anymore in the car of life, we're speeding at 100 miles per hour, and anything, be it a video, a movie, or a show, is like a billboard going, phoom. And it is critical that we have moments with you two to shed a little light on this and just say, like, hey, maybe take a pause. We've got a story to tell you, and we're pretty happy with it. So
absolutely,
this is critical to our life.
I love it. Well, let's talk about your life, Marcus. Kind of give us a little background. We knew you before All My Friends Are Dead from the Saw franchise. And I hear there's a basketball story in your
there's like a lore.
Sort of
so tale that we want to hear how you got started.
I was not exactly a gift to sports. I learned that quite quickly. When I was on the swim team, I did it because any like senior in high school, if you were in a sport, your mom would get a flower. So I thought, I want to do that. And their practice was at like 4 or 5 a.m. So I could do that and still helix with the rest of this tale. Prior to that, I was on a team. I was on a basketball team, and I was adorned in black and orange polyester, great tank top, seasonal. And and for whatever reason, the mechanics of that production, the production of a ball game, or like, let's say, a team schematic, just wasn't gelling. I was getting more towels and water than any time on the court. So there comes this like spaghetti dinner. And the spaghetti dinner, this is key. This is like, all right, the ball. And everybody, every hopeful youngster is surrounding the new coach who came in, and he had this white sport jacket with a high waist and big shoulder pads like Don Johnson, circa the later seasons of Miami Vice. And he goes around the circle of our gangly hopefuls, and he's pointing. He's giving like a word, lesson about what's going to happen. Like, you, I'm going to need you to get those hot tops that have a heavy front so we can work your calves. You, I want you to work on that three-pointer. We're going to need all the threes. And Dunstan, you got to get your head out of Hollywood so you can get some time on the court. And I felt a wrench go in my brain, and it went from yes to no.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. And I turned in that beautiful matching polyester tank top and short shorts, and I turned them in for a fake tuxedo. And Larry Jarvis hired me to the Cinema 1 and 2 movie theaters, where from that duplex, from those two screens, I started to see the rest of the world. Now, I was in Macomb, Illinois, but Larry was a champion of international cinema. So he would do something called the International Art Film Series. And for 3 days in the middle of the week, for a screening or two, you could now see something that normally wouldn't make it to the Midwest. And I'm talking like Prospero's books, the early John Woo, The Killer. You could have early Danny Boyle. It would be alt cuts of Blade Runner. It would be these vantage points to global cinema from this place. So I started learning. It may have looked like one thing or one concession, but really I was working concessions so I could have the consequences in my heart to go try this thing. And what I really loved about what Larry did as well was he would carefully curate all the trailers before the movie. This is before, when of course now it's digital and you can drag and drop and kind of make it and do it that way. But in the days of like real alchemy, when it was film alchemy and you had to put everything on a flatbed, you were choosing to cut and splice. And I felt more of a puppeteering of expecting and really curating the audience's expectations for what would happen. I would say one that really stuck with me. We had a special late night movie, special one, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Oh.
And I was allowed to work after midnight, a little young to do so. And I remember Larry Jarvis put the trailer for Van Damme's Hard Target right before the start of the movie, and everyone went, woo! And this white guy wearing fangs went, hey, boom, and punched me, and then enjoyed the movie. I thank you, cinema.
Wow.
I loved Hard Target, though. Freaking awesome.
What a way to get really thrown into it.
Yep. Gotta suffer
Gotta
for God. I think that's what I learned.
sucker punch it.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. I love that. Did you feel, because you had mentioned that your coach actually told you to quit the movies. What were you doing before that, like, drew that attention? I was always curious of that.
Question. So, courtesy of my grandmother, Jen, she was really my co-anarchist in seeing things that I probably shouldn't have seen at a certain age, but it could be parent or guardian. Grandma Jen counted as a guardian, so you got GDG, Grandma Jen guardian, let's go. And I loved, I had really bad acne, and I loved watching horror movies and studying Tom Savini, because Tom Savini was not only a magician, but then when he applied what he'd learned, he was a Vietnam War photographer, and he kind of separated the real life horror. These are kind of an amalgamation of his words, but he could kind of separate the real life horror through glass, and then he comes back, and the scrappy indie movies are competing, and they're doing horror movies again at a lower rate. So he applies his trade as a magician. He applies a little bit of distance from the real life horror and starts to do groundbreaking work. So we get Friday the 13th, we get Dawn of the Dead, we get The Burning, and these are like the movies where all of a sudden this divide happens between, in some cases, the parents and the kids, like, these movies will rot your brains once again, kind of like rock and roll. But
Right.
for me, I saw a magician, and I loved going down and saying, like, if I start making my own little movies, I can cover up this acne. I can kind of feel pretty good about myself and do so. So, courtesy of Grandma Jen again, I wanted to read Fangoria magazine, another age gate piece of paper. Well, she walked me in there and said, this kid reads whatever he wants. Now, my Grandma Jen ran the ER up in Itasca County, Minnesota. And she was the first woman to have a driver's license up there. And this was like how far back in history we're going, because someone had to open the ER, and none of the snowplow guys were really like going to get up any earlier, so they would plow the roads for Jen to get in there. She got the license because she was the first one on the spot. So when she saw a kid, I think, reaching into something that was deemed no, she's like, no, this kid wants to learn, and I don't care if it's about blood, it's fake blood. He's learning about something with a different reason. So I think she bestowed me my first camcorder. Now I'm getting back to the root of your question. So why did this guy say that? Why did he say, get your head out of Hollywood? Because courtesy of a wonderful teacher, Sue Ellen Rickelman, who taught world history in our high school, you could turn in a paper or you could turn in a video of your world history topic.
Why did I have those options?
I absolutely loved it. And so I could get my buds together after school for those precious, 2.5 hours before the sun went down, and tell the story of Ramses II. And I could tell the story of Cleopatra, and I could tell the story of Lincoln, and I could do that with this video. And then I have the 2 VCRs, and I knew that Miss Rickelman loved Conan. So whenever I used the Conan score by Basil Polidorus, I felt the grade might be going up. I loved it. So that was what I was doing. And I would, if I ever pushed it and had to, and elected, or like got a little late night sick, so to speak, where I'd stay up till 4 a.m, putting these things together, loving it. And then, I'd be a dizzy space cadet for the rest of the day. So yeah, it had an effect. It took a toll. I found something I wanted to give everything to.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grandma Jen. Thank you, grandmothers.
That's amazing. Coming from a place of necessity and really like falling in love with it, and then that's your future. And it seems like you've done a lot too. Like you've gone from writer to director to producer. Like I see that through, your IMDb progression, and so talk to us about that too. Like when you really got into the industry, and I mean, you're well known for the Saw franchise. Was that kind of your first big thing, or were you working for a while before that?
Goodness gracious. So let's say you have an opportunity to pick up the camera for the first time, and anymore, this, which Helix's with All My Friends Are Dead, is kind of like now everybody has their own studio in their pocket.
Yeah.
Now, at this day and age, I'm on your show. You guys have made it. You guys are creating a platform and an entity that is singularly you. Well, before that, I was not in a realm of any sort of spotlight or an orbit. I was someone who moved from Macomb, Illinois to California, and gladly so. And I had about 16 hours, a 16 millimeter under my arm. Thought I can edit this and see if anyone would like to take a chance on working with me. Well, I ended up working instead at Blockbuster, my name tag from back then.
Love it.
Not even my name, it's Jamie. This store was going down. It looks like Jamie was strafed by a rhino or something. I don't know. That's so, but I gotta tell you, I took that job seriously, just as seriously as what I could learn from the theater, where I took advantage of all those rentals. So still free rentals I could do, so I could still boom, boom, boom. Well, then one day I'm restocking Project Greenlight, and I watched that show. And then for the second season, I think we were asked to hand out some passes for an early screening of the movie they'd made as the culmination of that season. Well, big break number one, huge break, Willy Wonka moment, is Patrick and I winning Project Greenlight season 3.
Yes.
Now, courtesy of Patrick Melton, the mindset was, well, this is this movie. This movie is now off and going. If we want to stick around the adults table and we're in a guest chair, we have to keep going like there is no first movie. And courtesy of him, I only appear in any way good because he is great. It was that aesthetic. It was like really the legendary Midwest work ethic. He's an example of it. I love that we really just went for it and kept going for it. So I will tell you, I think this is kind of the key part of the story. So guess what? You have your golden ticket. They make your movie. All of a sudden, cameras are following you. Like this is a moonshot.
Yeah.
And then, well, the studio that makes you kind of gets into a separation with the bigger studio. So this would be TWC and Disney separating. But hey, TWC takes your movie with you. So what was supposed to be about 7-8 weeks of post becomes 18 months. And then those agents that really wanted to be with you when we're on the show, they dump you. And the movie hasn't even come out yet. And then all of a sudden, Patrick tells me, like, I got a kid on the way, and we've got a movie coming out, we've got other stuff, but oh no. So he goes off and writes what would become The Neighbor. I end up putting together what will become The Collector. Now we work on both of these together, but with The Collector, courtesy of Brett Forbes and Pat Rosati, we made a little trailer so people could see it. Like this was a down and dirty digital thing.
Yeah.
But hey, we did our best. We gave them a trailer, a scene, proof of concept, and a marketing campaign with it in 6 minutes. So we had all this stuff. Crickets, no one wants to see us. Then the show comes back for one more episode, the premiere episode, and the Maloof brothers pay. They put in about $500,000 into Feast that came with the caveat of the celebrities associated with the show. That'd be Damon, Affleck, Craven, Chris Moore, Nick Phillips, etc. have to show up on the red carpet. Then Sean Decker gets us on the cover of Fangoria. The same three's coming out. So talk about a full circle moment. The last conversation with Grandma Jen was, Grandma, they're making our monster movie. And she was so tickled. So all this is happening. My parents are out, family's out, friends are out, and we're at this event. During that after party, I have to pitch an alternate ending to Dimension. They buy The Neighbor, the screenplay.
Okay.
Then Bob's assistant rejects The Midnight Man as we're sound mixing Feast a few weeks prior, but his college roommate, Bob Weinstein's college roommate, shows him our teaser trailer, and he locks his office door and says, "You're not leaving until I have this movie." But he buys essentially the marketing. So now, in the space of being dumped by our fancy agents that are on camera, we then, in a matter of 6 weeks, set up these 2 projects that gets us vested in the WGA. But then, and then we're about to be unionized, and wouldn't you know, we are then asked, because someone reads The Midnight Man and thinks, hey, this kind of feels Saw-ish, we get an audition for Saw 4. So the three teams, two teams and another writer were all hired to write a draft of a script called Saw 4. For whatever reason, Patrick and I were the only team or writers that didn't get the inner circle Bible of the do's and don'ts. The other team did. So our screenplay was kind of wildly different in that way, and that was busting all those rules. And wouldn't you know, we ended up being selected for Saw 4. But when we went to pitch, we didn't just pitch 4, we pitched 4, 5, 6. And I'm going all the way back to my writing partner saying, like, hey, we're a guest chair at the adults table. Forward, go, go, go.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, today that I'm talking about a movie that Kevin Greuter, the editor and collaborator of the Saws we worked on, had to, because of Saw 10, he had to jump onto that, leaving a vacancy for AmFat, All My Friends Are Dead, that he nominated me to fill because Kevin was the original director. Therefore, I am here, and now we're re-collaborating with Kevin on Saw 11. So the gist of the whole thing is, don't hope for it, work for it.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's exactly the, I think, advice our listeners want to hear, even if it's like, wow, I've heard this like so many times. But I think working for it, having just your next projects in sight will always have you prepared and ready to be available, because you get no's all the time. You get dropped all the time, but it only takes one yes in the room that can really open doors. And you were prepared for that moment, which
yes, you got to be prepared for luck. And so speaking of that, once we were El Dumpo'd by the one agency, by the time that premiere party came around for Feast, we had a golden team. We had a golden and wonderful team. There was our manager, Trevor Engelson, who never left our side through thick and thin. And I'm telling you, it's mostly thin out there. And the moments of thick is when you like need someone to fire on all pistons, and he's a master of that. David Boxerbaum, Cheryl Peterson, Debbie Duval. Marvelous people who absolutely knew what to do with that opportunity, and we would not be here for them not being there for us. And that was a wonderful, I mean, man, that's a soul photo moment. Like when if you get a chance and you just simply know you're in a singular moment of your life, and you can shut your eyes and remember everything you hear, everything you smell, everything you touch, and you take that with you. You put a little time machine in your heart. From time to time, when the world takes you down to a knee, you can go back to that moment and be like, I know how to stand. And that was key.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And let's get into All My Friends Are Dead, because we want to make sure we really talk about that. We loved it. We had so much fun watching it. And it's, I've been noticing a lot lately with kind of like the young adult horror subgenre, that there's like a trend of a lot of it's circling around social media, right? Because that's kind of what young adult lives are circling around right now.
Yes.
But what I thought was unique about All My Friends Are Dead is that I feel like it can easily get a little too campy with that subgenre. I watch other films and I'm like, okay, this is fun, but like, I'm not scared. And I feel like with All My Friends Are Dead, you still got like that gore and that scare factor. So it was a really good like juxtaposition.
I was messaging Tessa. I was like, oh no, I had a hard time with the Saw movies growing up. I hosted horror film nights at my place, and Saw was the one where I had my pillow covering my eyes to like, just barely able to see it, because that gets me. So I saw that in All My Friends Are Dead. And I think, to Tessa's point, I think when there were like those funny campy moments, it gave me a real laugh because we had that like relief.
Hey, great. Yes.
This guy's 36. That was the funniest part. That was my favorite line.
Thank you. That joke I have kept here for so long, because that kid watching movies in the basement was like, high school, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's a full beard and it's gray. Your best freshman buddy, he's balding. Not sure about that. So I kid you not, like I was able to add a few things in there. Now, mind you, this all started with a great screenplay by Josh Sims and Jessica Sarah Flom, but courtesy of Shooting in Order. And that is, I want to give credit to producer Kirk Shaw and Stephanie Rennie. We shot in order, so when that
unheard of, guys.
Completely unheard of. But I'm telling you, like let's say every movie has a negotiation of terms and an adaptation factor with time and resources. You can, if you've got a team open to discovering where your hidden abundance is, and there'll always be a hidden abundance of something. And in this case, we had a hidden abundance of talent in the cast being able to, they were trained for drama, humor, melodrama, fine layers, thriller. Horror was kind of a new thing coming in. And when you have a lead with Jade Pettijohn, who is our true North Star, here's someone that's been at it for over a decade and is only, this young person in their 20s has over a decade of experience. And that is, there's a master quality to it. Very nimble with tone. So I want to build up to the reveal of that particular joke. It was not in the screenplay, but as we're going, because how could it be in the screenplay if you hadn't have cast the person who kind of convey
right.
And thank goodness with really I risked I caused a lot of stress because I cast up until the very last second and maybe a few ticks over that line. And really in particular, we needed the right person to play that particular part that joke reacts to. And I won't reveal it just yet. But in doing so, well, now we needed the person who could say that line. And in comes Jennifer Enns. And that was another last second. I'll tell you why, because the wrong screenplay went out for the reads. So all these people came in like, I don't want to judge these. Like, what is going on here? And the and then I was asked to, but the essence of the performers. Like, I don't care. I need to know the essence of the movie. Like, I need to know. I hear them say these words that someone broke their fingers to get. Like, who cares? Let's send them the Bible then. Like, yeah, they can audition for church. I'm building this whorehouse.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're going for blood and terror. Wow. So there you go.
I know, stand your ground, director. That's right.
So that was one where that was a very like, it was a knee-jerk reaction, but one that was kind of quickly and quietly backed by some of the production. Like, yeah, we don't have anything appropriate to aim at. What are we shooting? So I'll jump into this cast. So once you have Jade, and Jade was attached from the jump, so I know that, all right, here's this person who is portraying an outsider to a group of friends who we learn are then frenemies, who are then suspects, or then perhaps a cabal, who are then, what are they asking for? And we've all kind of been there in that moment where if we aren't the reason a party tilts into like, whoa, we all have a secret now, we're usually the camera, like our physical form is like the observer going like, what? Are you kidding me? I don't want to wear the crap you stepped in, man. Like, okay. And I loved that quality. And Jade could do that, be nimble. And you find out that this person has steel of their own and is like, maybe the reason you guys want, I'm not your nutrition. I am my own. I love that. So
that was a great turning point for sure. And like her character at the end. Yeah.
I just enjoy that. There's nothing final about this person. This is a person on a mission. And
it kept going too. Yeah. And I was like, thank you for closing the gaps, by the way.
Bless you.
Sometimes it's fun to question, but there I was like, we needed that resolve. So thank you.
And well,
screenwriters, thank you.
Well, hey, Josh and Jessica, thank you too. And so I got to beg while I can, if you are so fortunate to have you as a guest and watching AmFat, All My Friends Are Dead, please stay through the credits. We have more twists than a stick of licorice. And we don't stop twisting and turning until the last image flickers out. Back to the cast, if I may. So we had the award-winning Cardi Wong playing our big heart Aaron. We had Justin Derrickson, a nice cameo by Fiona O'Higgins. We had Jennifer Enns, who played Mona, who the delivery of that wonderful joke became because we were shooting in order. And she could do 3 different interpretations of every scene. And she could play it funny, dramatic, whatnot. And she revealed, like, I haven't been a part of a horror movie before. Like, I wasn't sure. I was like, thank goodness. Like, don't predispose that a horror movie requires any other type of acting. It's still, and then I was like, there's our secret abundance. This was a community up in Vancouver that largely did Hallmark content. Or the indie could come up there or whatnot. I'm like, we're gonna shake the Hallmark out of this town. Like this is and what was really fun is from special effects we're like, we get to do blood. I've had this barrel waiting around for a while. It's like, well, use it all, make two. It was so fun to go for edge and like, it's okay. You can say curse words. You can do this. So all these nimble, beautiful tone, gymnastics with tone we could play with because this cast was terrific. And I want to round it out. I got to mention Ali Fumiko Whitney, who was a producing collaborator really early in the process and was already up in Vancouver working, but came up, her character is Liv, laugh, love, or maybe die.
Oh yeah, loved that.
It was neat to find. I found a bit of myself in some of every single character, so it's kind of like hanging my hat on moments of that time in my life. And it's when you start to see the darkness in your friends, when you start to see that and these little moments, and anymore, every character has a layer, and we get to have a 4D sort of character happen. Why? I think because in the architecture and the structure of a murder mystery, you get to spend a little more time with the person. If it's done in a traditional way, if it's done like the ways that well, I need enough time with them to suspect them. I need enough time to maybe even understand why they're getting it. And I need that critical acreage where we have the explanation for here's why I'm doing it, or here's why we're doing it, or they're doing it, or whatnot. It ultimately is telling you more about these characters, and it makes these experiences all the more rewarding. Now, the reason this great cast, Justin, Cardi, Jennifer, and Ali, had a coalesced because they really were friends when I showed up to the set, is courtesy of Julian Haig, who plays LB. And Julian reached out to this cast prior and said, let's get together and let's find our relationships and find our layers. So by the time I showed up, and I was part of the outsiders, so Jade, myself, Michaela Russell were coming from the States in there, and I'm building up to JoJo. So by the time we got there, it was neat. There was kind of these roles already set up. And then I wanted two ringers, just as two folks that I'd worked with before. So I had at least a guaranteed shorthand. So my abundance could be that. And another secret abundance that was wonderful is not only Peter Giles as the agent, I could give this character a voice that was a little bit of the anarchist from Feast, a bit of the someone who could speak in direct, sometimes vacant, just cold-hearted agent-like speak. I'm always remembering the good old agent dump. And I wanted somebody to just reduce them to product right away. Hey, if you get stabbed this weekend, don't post about it. Victims are so played out. But, hope I'll get you a Snickers commercial, okay? Yeah. I loved, Peter can say anything, and it comes with more charm than harm. So then that leads us to Michaela Russell, who I'd worked with 4 times before. And she not only gave a great performance, but behind the scenes, Michaela is an excellent producer. She produced all 33 original needle drops, including the one in the trailer. So what I also love for the viewers of your show, if you're thinking about checking this movie out, please watch our Red Band trailer, because it does something critical. It does something mission critical. It says, we are a sugar rush to the eyes and the mind. We're going to blend dark humor. There is horror, and there's an adrenalized commentary on what we're doing today. But what you don't know is you might guess a twist. You won't guess the twist. You might guess a couple of other things. There's going to be some blood, but you won't see how it's coming. Courtesy of awesome cast. And the best surprise of all is JoJo Siwa.
Yeah.
JoJo is a real juggernaut, in the sense that I can type in that name and I can see someone singing, dancing, performing, captivating a crowd, different appearances, different lives throughout also a decade. Just turns out she and Jade Pettyjohn co-starred in School of Rock, the TV adaptation. So to have them come back together, they resumed a friendship and a rhythm that was remarkable. And JoJo has a big responsibility in the movie. Her character of Colette has to carry something that Josh and Jessica did that scared the heck out of me, and scared me because I thought, I'm jumping in to try to do my best with this cast, with all of our resources, to protect a heart. So you can have all the mayhem, you can have the bloodletting, the cursing, the NC-17 imagery, but if you've got a heart too, and you have that twist, you really are putting the TN and the T together to blow folks away. And I thought that was something I wanted to do. And if it hadn't been for John Gulager and the movie 20 years ago now, saying, all right, you two first timers, I got you. You're protected. So hence at the beginning of this movie, when we reveal that there's a sordid backstory and there was this killer 20 years ago. And my gosh, do you know what the entertainment industry did? They didn't just condemn it. They made entertainment out of it. They made podcasts, they made docuseries, and that sleaze merchant, Juan Gulager, made a movie that made a bunch of money. That's my ode and my hug to John.
Yeah.
He did that for us. He protected our story and let us live.
Oh, I love that. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for sharing this with us today. I loved hearing your story, like building up to where you are today, and then how All My Friends Are Dead all came together. You know, it sounds like it's really a passion project, you know, and I love that.
Yes.
And please let our audience know where they can watch it, when they can watch it, where they can find you if you would like to share social media, all that jazz.
Okay, so hashtag AmFed, All My Friends Are Dead, is coming to the silver screen August 2nd. Now, there's a little modicum tangent here. We all worked hard because that little cup of water on the stick in the desert leading us further in there was the idea that maybe if we did everything just right, we'd see a silver screen. And we will this August 2nd. Also, if it's not playing in the theater near you on that day, you may on-demand it to whatever device you have. But turn it up, turn off the lights, and sit back, because whatever screen you're watching, be it the silver screen, we're going to turn it red. With hashtag AmFed, All My Friends Are Dead, August 2nd.
Yes.
Yeah, what a pitch. We love it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
Marcus.
Hey, and congratulations, you two. I love that. Guess what you found? You found your partnership. And now you two are back-to-back, ride or die, go for it. And already I saw two people who, with heart and good spirit, you guys are actually riding horses. You actually are in unsteady ground, and you're capturing this narrative and that's a lot of hats you're wearing. And step by step, you are climbing a mountain of your own design. And I think that that's inspirational. I think that's what keeps us going. So thank you two for being a light out there. We're in a galaxy of uncertainty when it comes to, oh, what do I want to see? What do I want to be? And thanks for being a light. Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate that, Marcus. Fun fact, today is actually the anniversary of shooting our first feature film, which is a sci-fi psychological thriller.
Okay.
That is almost done. Would love to share the trailer with you if we're able to pass that along. I think you'd be into it because it does play into tech and questions the protections we have in place, and we loved that this film used that. We're definitely going to film our own intro to this episode and kind of highlight why we also loved that similar through line of like playing with tech and how invasive it is and social media and all that stuff. So we feel like you'd love this our feature sync. I'd
be happy to see it. I'm a fan, and even though let me see, air quote, Tessa, aka Katie, checkered past, I'll look past that. Okay? I really want to give your art a second chance. Don't we all deserve a second chance?
Right.
Tessa, you need to spill this tea. Why is he calling you Kate? I'm so confused.
I'll fill you in after, Carolina.
I'm like, did he uncover something I did not? It sounds like it. There's
it's
something
on my resume.
Okay.
Pure scandal. I'm blowing the roof off.
Well, thank you, Marcus. I know you have other interviews, so I'm gonna let you go.
Thanks a million. I'm grateful to meet you, and have a tremendous day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Marcus. You too. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening to FemRegard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Fem Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.